Hello, everybody, and welcome to the midweek marketing mix. Again, Christ, we're doing pretty well, and I'm hoping this time that actually everything's working. And I've already had a little trial behind the scenes because notoriously, because I'm one of these Hangout hosts that uses about 7,000 different tools to sort of bring you the best value, it always seems to break down, which is quite cool. So what I'm trying to do today, I've got my lower third working, which is better than last time. I've got the showcase working. So for those of you who've never seen this show, or are watching this sort of recorded, everything that we're talking about here today, in terms of if there's any links that we think are vital that you should sort of read up on extra information, we've put it into what's called the Showcase app. So for those of you, I'm going to try and switch this on. Ready? I'm going to flick that on. No, not that one. It is this one. There we are. So there you go. So for those of you who want to get a little bit more information and the links, if you are watching this outside of Google+, this little button here will show you how to access those links. For those of you who are watching it in Google+, you'll notice that there is a little sidebar which has got lots of links, including the links to all of these guys and what they're doing, and all their profiles. So hopefully you'll get an awful lot out of this. And if any of you want to comment, I'm going to flick this on again. I should have mentioned this earlier on. If any of you want to comment in the Google+ stream, then this little button above me here gives you an idea of how to access it. There's a little tiny box with an arrow in it, and if you click on that, it will take the Hangout, and you can leave comments in the box. So let me start off with Midweek Marketing Mix. It's basically bringing you the best guys, and we've got some crackers down here talking about the latest sort of big things out there in terms of the news and what's going on. So I've got myself and Andrew, and I've almost learned how to pronounce his surname. I'm going to go Harasewych.
Close. Harasewych.
One day I'll get there. And he's not even going to give me the delights of pronouncing it, which is the worst bit about it. It's terrible. So we've got Andrew, we've got David Amerland coming on. Sorry, Andrew's talking about the sort of the digital and social world, which is great. We then got David Amerland coming on talking about the world of semantic SEO, and there's been a few little bits of news in there, which is quite exciting. And also, David's got a new book, which we're going to talk about as well, which is great. And then we're joined by Mark Schaefer, who's got man flu, which is the worst thing in the world. So he's battling through to talk to us about two of his books, which is fantastic. So Mark, thanks for joining us. I really appreciate your time, and the glory of Hangouts is the fact that we can't see any germs flying, which is great. So we won't be getting it all. So look, let's kick off the show. Midweek Marketing Mix. We're going to start on the digital marketing segment because, I mean, Andy, there's been an awful lot of moves. We can see that the 2015's got started. So, come on, what's your pick of the week in terms of the news that's been kicking around? And I'll try and bring some stuff up for everybody.
Well, Twitter went down the other day, or I mean, Facebook went down. Sorry.
Yeah.
But that absolutely did not change anything about what I was doing at the time. That was completely unmonumentous. I think I tweeted about it once, and then I just kind of went back to what I was doing because it doesn't really help me get work done. The only thing that I was worried about was, let's say, if you're running an ad campaign, something like that, if Facebook goes down and you decide to not turn off your ads, you not turn things up, when it comes back, you might end up wasting a bunch of money. So just remember to always keep an eye on these kinds of things.
Your sound's gone a little bit there. Andrew, you still there?
Hey, sorry.
There you go.
All right.
Yeah, I can hear you.
So, and one of the other articles that I was reading this week, and James pointed out to me, was, of course, TechCrunch, which I've been liking them less and less and less over the past year or two. They have a habit of publishing articles that are about the death of everything. If they're not using it, then it's a dead network, not even worth trying, which kind of compounds the problem for that network anyway. People don't want to try it. They go, oh, well, TechCrunch said it's a waste of time, just like Google+. Not worth it.
Yeah, they kind of platform bash a bit, don't they? They are sort of renowned for that. But this is, if I'm correct, to bring it back around for everybody, they basically predicted the death of Ello, which
yes.
I remember distinctly the week it came on, we discussed it here in this platform, and if I'm correct, Ello was basically there as almost like an anti-Facebook platform, which everyone said it's got no ads on it, therefore it's going to do great things, and it was built very, very simply, and all this sort of stuff. And basically, if I'm correct, so TechCrunch have predicted I think they said it arrived in September, gone in September, I think, was their entire analogy of this. I mean, you don't think that's right, or where are you sticking with that?
I think it's a little unfair, but well, it's also a bit of Ello's own fault. They by going up and saying we're going to destroy Facebook, that was their biggest mistake. I mean, honestly, that's what all the Google Plus articles tend to get wrong. That it's a Facebook competitor, and Elo should have gone for their own niche. They should have just I don't know. It's tough. There
It's
are
difficult, isn't it?
people
Because
using it.
yeah. Go on. Sorry.
No, it's there are people that are using Elo, there are people that are posting, and there clearly is some type of audience there, but you know, you can't just look at your own list of friends and go, oh well, if my friends aren't on there, then it's a failure. You know, that's not really the way to look at a social network. You know, don't try to just use it like Facebook, where we're connecting by relationships. Try to find people that you're interested in. Who knows, on Elo, if there's only 1,000 people posting, you might find someone you would never otherwise find on any other network. Which is something that could be interesting. You know, it's to each their own kind of thing. But the way Elo's structured, I don't think they really can fail right now. I mean, they'll keep on trucking. I mean,
Well, I mean, they got what they got $5.5 million of funding. So I mean, they've got some money behind them. So I mean, they're not going to fall over, are they? I mean, I don't know. I suppose I've got a little view on this, which is there's always that argument of, is there going to be another Facebook? I think, Mark, in your book, you basically say Facebook is the internet. Is there going to be another one? Yeah, you know what? There's not. Is there going to be another Google Plus? Probably not. Is there going to be another Twitter? Probably not.
I think the issue is that in real life, we like to have choice. We like to go to different car dealerships to look at different cars. We look at the breakfast cereal aisle. We want to see different breakfast cereals. But we only have the bandwidth for certain niches of social networks. We don't need another Twitter. We have one. It works fine. We don't need another LinkedIn. We have one. It works fine. I was working with a group of people that said, well, we're going to create this social media network for artists or for marketers or for sports fanatics. And what they found out was we already have that. It's called Facebook. Because you can create groups in Facebook for any niche, and they're already there. So I think it's going to be difficult, even for social. You know, everybody says there's going to be all these niche networks. Well, where are they? There aren't a lot of niche networks because they're really all on Facebook. That's where everybody is. You can slice it and dice it any way you want. I mean, there could be different ways of associating with people, of finding people that could create a new niche based on some functionality. But as far as a social network, you know, it's kind of game over.
Yeah, I tend to. It's a bit of me in that. I mean, I don't know. I think Facebook is an interesting one because, I mean, many of you on here know my opinions on Facebook and whether or not it's going to stay as a social network for very long. I mean, certain recent acquisitions they've made, and I think the longer game plan is they're going to have more of a layer base where it's not just going to be about that. I think there's going to be an awful lot of it becoming a complete sort of facilitation of 360-degree videos or gaming or all that sort of stuff. So I think Facebook's got a very interesting history. But certainly this Elo stuff, interesting. I'm not a big believer in the fact that TechCrunch have got this right, I'm afraid. But we'll have to see. Each to their own. I've signed up. I haven't done an awful lot with it. We'll just sort of keep a patch on it. But look, the really interesting news I found this week, and Andrew, was about this whole Twitter stuff and the group messaging and video stuff. I mean, because again, I'm really interested in if Mark has got an opinion on this, but can you just give us a summary of what's sort of gone on there?
So Twitter now has group chat and video chat and videos. Twitter, so now they have this. Basically, through direct messages, you can talk to up to 20 people. You know, just like Facebook or Google, you have little little emojis and all that fun stuff. But they're basically trying to make it more of a conversation tool between you and your friends. Because right now, direct messages, it's kind of difficult to hold a conversation, or even just tweeting back and forth. I've always had trouble with it myself. But this is interesting. I mean, I do really like Google Hangouts. I have it merged with my SMS on my phone, so there really is nothing better than that for me. But you know, some people might find some really good use out of the Twitter tool, especially if they're not Google Plus users. And Facebook, you know, Facebook's tough. You're not always connected to the people you're professionally necessarily connected to. It's more friends and family, but it could be good. The videos, I do like the video idea. They're gonna, you know, it's basically they're becoming their own little media site. You know, it's whether they're going to be stronger or better than using a YouTube video. I'm not sure yet, but it's interesting. It's nice to see them doing something different, different than their norm.
Well, I tell you what, if nothing else, it certainly shows that there's this massive, massive move towards using video as a platform within the Twitterverse. I mean, we see Facebook push it out an awful lot, which we'll come on to in a second. Mark, have you got any sort of views on this in terms of how Twitter is starting to use this group messaging stuff?
I think two things. First of all, I would ask you and anybody else watching, how many people are actually using the Twitter platform to connect with people? I mean, I haven't used the Twitter platform in years. I use Hootsuite. I use Hootsuite on the desktop. I use Hootsuite on my mobile app. And so it remains to be seen how some of the Twitter things are going to integrate with something like Hootsuite. The other issue is they own TweetDeck. I have never understood why they haven't integrated so that the Twitter interface is TweetDeck, which is actually something that's useful. So why are they building these little attachments and these little modules, and people are out using TweetDeck anyway? So it's kind of, I don't know.
But isn't that part of trying to do this? Which is obviously they've had the IPO out there. They're very keen to monetize Twitter in certain ways. I mean, we've seen over the last few months that you've started playing with Twitter cards. You can now start purchasing music directly. You can take payments through Twitter. Isn't this just another way of Twitter trying to drive people back to twitter.com and therefore trying to monetize it as a platform?
Well, it's complicated. I think that no platform has done more to innovate around monetizing than Twitter. I mean, they've done a very, very good job at that. But the reason they're getting dinged by Wall Street is that they're falling behind in their user growth. And the reason they're falling behind in their user growth is because it's so complicated to use compared to other platforms. So in the last quarterly earnings statement, they talked about they're going to create ways to make it more accessible, to make it more simple. A lot of people were worried, are they going to make it more Facebook-like? Oh, no. So this move, I think it's interesting functionality, but is it going to make it easier to use? Is it going to make it more fun to use? That remains to be seen. That's Twitter's challenge right now, is to keep the stock price going. They've got to keep bringing in more people, and to do that, I don't know. To me, it seems like the obvious answer is to integrate with TweetDeck, which they already own, which is a much easier and user-friendly interface than Twitter alone. So I don't know. It remains to be seen, I guess.
It's certainly going to be an interesting development. I mean, they have certainly ramped up the innovations over the last few months. So I'm particularly interested. But I tell you what, like you, Mark, I haven't used Twitter.com in an awful long time, other than when I'm building my lists. That's when I tend to use Twitter because I find it a slightly easier version to use. But just bringing on some things. Let's just see if this works today, because my comment tracker has been failing recently. So Nazim is saying Twitter's starting to look at video because they see how big it is on Instagram and Vine, etc. Yeah, absolutely right. I think I've just seen
people on site longer. I mean, it gives them a place to put ads, put everything. I mean, that's definitely good for Twitter. But like Mark said, I mean, it's we're just not sure if people are actually going to be using it. I mean, that's to wait and see.
Yeah.
I've started using Twitter more now. I mean, I've been trying to, basically, because I've seen the need to obviously differentiate my networks a little bit, because I'm very Google Plus heavy right now. But Twitter, it's just there's so many people just yelling at each other. I mean, not yelling, but like, here's my blog, come on, please, blog. That's it. I mean, that's kind of, there is no, well, there is native conversation, but it's hard to find sometimes. It's all the auto follow backs and so you look at someone follows you and I go, oh my God, that's so awesome, so and so followed me, but then you look over and you see 30, 40, 50, 60, 80,000 people that they're following too, and I'm like, oh, okay, so they'll never see anything I post. I don't know. It's kind of discouraging about Twitter that way. But
well, that's where they got to read the. Here you go. Here's a plug for you, Mark. That's where they got the Tower of Twitter. There you go. read the path of Twitter enlightenment with Mark's book, and we'll come on to that in a little bit. But look, bringing in Lee's comments, see if that works. It does work today. There we go. So agree with Mark Schaefer. Very use Twitter.com. Always use TweetDeck and the app. So that's great to hear. Thanks, Lee. Good to see you, mate. What else we got coming in? I think. Oh, here we are. TJ, I think Twitter is somewhat hard work. Hard work. Fair enough. Fair enough. Now, I must say, there was a question which came in, and I think it was a really, really interesting one from Scott Scrowcroft, and I've saved it to just bring it in because this is interesting. And Mark, let's just see if you sort of got a comment to this. So, referring to a business's use of social media, a couple of years ago, Mark Schaefer, you said, be first, be overwhelming. And I presume this is in reference to that Elo comment earlier. What would you say today? Is there still an argument for being first past the post in terms of getting a platform up and running, or having an idea and running with it? What do you think of that?
Well, thanks, Scott, for the great question. It's nice to see you on here. The context of that comment was really around content marketing. The dirty secret that we don't really like to talk about is we want to give people hope that, well, if they create great content, it'll rise to the top. Well, if you're actually working in the business, you know that's not true. It's very, very hard to get your content to rise to the top. It's very complicated. And today, there's a great, you have to consider how saturated is your niche. How saturated is the content in your industry? And the real content marketing strategy that Scott refers to is to be first and overwhelming, is what I've said, is that you really don't even have to have the best content. I'm not saying you don't need good content, but one strategy is just to overwhelm your niche with so much content, Google can't find anybody but you, and then it makes it difficult for your competition. I would still say that's relevant today. I'm just finishing up a new book, actually, that would, if you're in a niche that's saturated, I'm working on a new book to help you find ways to maneuver in this new world of content marketing where there is so much overwhelming information density. But I would say yes, that is still a primary strategy today, is to find an unsaturated niche, fill it with useful, helpful, great content, and overwhelm your competitors.
I've always said that you've always got to find your niche, and then find the niche of that niche, and then you're going to love it. And just to give you a quote again, because I read some of this on about content ignition. You talk a lot about content ignition, and the focus needs to be a shift from writing to igniting. There you go. That's one of your quotes, Mark. I think that's a very valid one. Look, let me just move on a little bit here, because Andrew and Dave, I want your opinion on this really, which is some of the other news which came out this week, and I'm just going to screen share this a little bit. See if I can just bring this up. Was that of the world of Google reviews? Now, there's been some contention around this, about whether or not Google this week have ignited, there we go, this argument about gaming of local reviews. There's a big push out there for Google Local, and that they are just that not enough people are using their review sites. So they're trying to basically encourage all of us to start using Google reviews. And if I just screen share this a second, this is a little screenshot I shared earlier on. Of this initiative Google are putting out there, which is they're going to start to reward you for leaving reviews. So you have a level 1 reviewer where you've got 0 reviews, level 2, 5+, level 3, 50, level 4, 200. Where the more reviews you get, obviously the higher you are up in the Google echelons of local reviewing. I think, David, you're on level 2, right? Or you're not yet on level 2?
No, I just began. I'm on level 1, so I haven't really updated very many places. I use TripAdvisor a lot, so I'm quite high up there.
Well, maybe that's it. Maybe they're trying to compete. Maybe they're trying to sort of get in there and muscle in on it all. But I found this particularly interesting, and I'll tell you what I'm going to do. And I'm going to reference Martin Shervington, because he got on the bandwagon of this today, and he had written a blog post, which I'll mention in the show a little later, and basically said, look, this is a working case example of why A, Google are trying to do it, and B, why all businesses at the moment should be very conscious of how they're being perceived in search with reviews. And I thought this was a really good example of it, which is, this is just a search of restaurants, I assume, in Cardiff, and you've got Jamie's Italian, referencing Jamie Oliver. You States guys may understand him. with, what's that, 44 reviews, 30 reviews, 41 reviews. And his point was, look, Browns has got 1 review. You know, are you necessarily going to click on Browns to find out more about that being a restaurant in Cardiff? And it's probably a little bit unlikely. So you are going to probably look at these guys who've got more reviews. So I just sort of wanted your guys' opinion on this. And Andrew, I suppose there's 2 questions in this. Would it make you leave more reviews by being incentivized to do it? And then I'll probably switch it to David and say, do you think this is a sort of almost like a semantic plot within Google to, again, get all of these connections working together?
I think it's great. I mean, I like it. I always liked the idea of the local review systems. You know, I think it's good that we have these kinds of things. But you know, I understand where people are a little worried about it, that it just looks like Google just paying you to review. But you know, they are asking for some quality. You know, they're saying don't make a little one-liner, don't make it off topic. You know, I think they'll be able to figure out if you're leaving a review for an Italian restaurant and you're talking about Chinese food. I mean, they'll know. I mean, it's Google. They have the data algorithms to figure it out. But I like it. I mean, I actually tried, because I remember there was news a couple months ago about Google reviews, that they were trying. It was some kind of program like this. I guess it was phase 1 of the reviews thing. But they really wanted to motivate people to leave reviews to, you know, whenever you're going anywhere. The only thing I'm a little confused about, that 4-stage thing, is that's not per month, is it? That's just total number of reviews that you have? Okay.
Total number.
So I'd say 200 reviews per month is a bit much. But you know, they basically want to keep you consistently reviewing and thinking about how you will explain it to other people after you go somewhere. I think that's good. I don't have any complaints there. And I look forward to doing it myself. I mean, there's a lot of businesses that I should have reviewed that, for both positive and negative reasons, that you know, I might go leave my thoughts now.
That sounds ominous.
But, a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, and just quickly, Vivek, thanks for your feedback. I will be turning my volume down a little bit. I normally have a little problem with my volume, so there we are. I'm turning it down. And I'll just turn up Mark, and I'm going to turn up Andrew as well, and just make sure you guys can be heard properly. I like the sound of my own voice, you see. It's wonderful. Okay, so David, what do you think about this in terms of the sort of the semantics of all this? Is this Google trying to connect it all up again?
Well, in a way, yes, and it's probably way overdue. Google have been looking at doing that anyway independently across the web by looking at TripAdvisor, Yelp, and all the other places where we actually do leave reviews and a digital presence. They haven't been doing it very well for a variety of reasons, one of which is verification, the other one is access. So by creating their own layer on this, they're essentially creating one more semantic web, if you like, of interconnections, which they can bring in and begin to verify. Now, the entire semantic search concept hinges on veracity. You know, how truthful is the data you're actually getting? And in order to do that and use machine learning to actually verify it, you need a lot of that in order to cross-reference it. So having access to this at this level is a great boon for them. Will they convince enough people to do it for them to get a meaningful signal? I think that's another question. And in here, you know, this is the beginning. You know, we can see that they're beginning to push forward with this in order to actually get us to do it. The levels are a nice element of gamification. I've already started transferring some of my TripAdvisor reviews to places I've been over the last year. So, you know, I should be able to get to level 4 pretty quickly.
There's probably, you and Mark could probably have a competition of travel offs or something, or hotel offs. And I reckon that's the game for the next year or so. But I mean, it's right though. I mean, it's funny, ever since, and I don't know if this is their ploy, but maybe I'm just this way inclined, but as soon as I saw that, I was just like, do you know what? Number one, it makes sense from a review perspective to leave reviews, because do you know what? If you're unhappy about service or if you're happy about service, you should be complimenting or persuading people to do something better anyway, and I think that's the right thing to do. And secondly, when Google put that out and just said, look, do you know what? There's a criteria here. If you have this many reviews, it worked for me. So I'm starting to leave reviews left, right, and centre as a natural course of business. I used to do it, funny enough. I used to do it in Twitter. I used to have the hashtag as positive feedback or negative feedback. And I now find, I think it's more value to the businesses and to the people looking at the businesses that I leave a more comprehensive review in Google.
Well, I think
I'm glad.
David made an interesting point about the benefits to Google, and of course, what Google is trying to do here is collect more information about you. But the problem that Google has chronically is marketing. They don't really understand marketing. So the issue I think they're going to have with this is, what's the benefit to us? I see the benefit to them, but I already use Yelp. I already use TripAdvisor. So how is it going to benefit the customers? What value does this add? What problem does this solve? Okay, well, maybe you and I are thinking, well, maybe we'll get better authorship rank. Maybe we'll get better authority somehow, or better SEO if we leave reviews. The average person doesn't care about that. The average person wants to say, what is in this for me? And I think, once again, Google's kind of coming out with a Me Too product, not thinking about the consumer here. So it's a nice. I think David characterized it as another layer. It's another layer. We can see some benefits to it. Certainly, there's going to be benefits to Google, but is the average person going to pick up with this, or are they going to stick with Yelp, which has been on their smartphone for years?
I think that's a brilliant point. And Mark, you're absolutely right. Google never actually markets anything, and it leaves users, in the broad sense of the word, to figure it out, which is not always a great strategy. What may happen, and obviously I'm only sort of guessing here, is that Google is very powerful in search and it's extremely good in mobile search and local search. So if you're doing local search and you start seeing your friends' reviews coming up and using them in your local network to actually make decisions, it might kick the whole thing off, because there's that element of gamification and familiarization. But this remains to be seen. So right now, what you said is absolutely spot on, and we'll see how it pans out.
I also use Maps a lot. Google Maps. I love Google Maps. I haven't used. I used Yelp way back a couple times. I never really liked it. That was just me. I love the Google Map universe. So this is something that will be very, very, very useful to me to get more reviews in there. But it's also, James, you mentioned, it's also good for businesses. Businesses need to know what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, what they should focus on, and if we can get them more feedback, that's all the better. Plus, then the business sees the value in having a local Google Plus page, and it, again, like David said, it ties everything back together for Google. If they can launch it properly, like Mark said.
Yeah, I don't know. I always see that there's an opportunity in all of this, and just to say thanks to Nick Rink. He's actually put a link up there to the local guide program. So thanks, Nick, for posting that up there. Susan just mentioned, and do you know what? This is classic, and this is where I think it falls down. Susan, thanks for your comment. You just put in here. Actually, damn, I just lost it. I've missed it. Bear with me. I've managed to unpin a post, and there's so many coming in, so thanks for all your posts coming in. I'm going to show it here. Let's see if that flips. Yeah, we have a local restaurant here with 149 reviews, and they don't even own their own page. So it's unclaimed. They're not responding to any of the customer reviews. And look, you know what? You're right there, Susan, and that's not only an issue from the fact that these guys don't even own their own page, but Google's problem is that perhaps they don't even understand the mentality of how to run Google Plus local pages. The big education side of things. Now, I'm just going to stand here and stand behind the screen, because I've got to try and find this post to try and make me visible again. There we go. I'm back in again. There, I'm back in again. While we click on, but there's been so many different comments, and one of them I just want to bring up from earlier, because I think this is quite important from, again, this review perspective, is Stuart O'Neill, who isn't watching live but will be watching the recorded, has actually put, and I love this quote, he says, local is critical for local businesses, but I'm in a one horse, no lots of horses, but one stoplight town with one honky-tonk and one commercial intersection. I will review all of these this weekend. They'll be useful. They will be useful for the person.
That's a challenge for the rest of us.
It then goes on. He says, "I will review these this weekend. They will be useful for the person headed to the Saguaro National Park and Nature Reserve." Yeah, I actually moved to the most beautiful place. So I thought that was quite funny. I had to just mention that. So thank you, Stuart, for that review. But no, there's been an awful lot sort of kicking around on this, and I think from the review perspective, it's interesting. I'm certainly behind it. I understand the point, but if businesses aren't there, there's going to be a struggle. If Google aren't marketing it correctly, there's an issue. Okay, let's just have a little look because I know there has been so many things coming in here. What have we got here? So we've got Susan mentioning that.
What if they started printing out like postcards to the business? Like if they just sent you a postcard that was like, "Hey, you got 120 new reviews on Google today, or on Google last month, or last year. Why don't you guys come check out what your customers are saying about you?" And then just quick mailer to everyone. I don't know.
They've got to know your address in the first place, haven't you? That's the whole point of the entire verification from Google, which is you've got to send them the physical address and they've got to send you the postcard. So it's sort of got to work both ways.
But even when you don't verify, you still, your business's address is still probably in Google at this point. I think, that would be a quick, low-cost way for them to at least get some word out to more businesses who think like, oh, I don't have time to market, but they can spend 5 minutes a day just responding to customer reviews. That's all you really have to do. Just be social with people. Just respond. Show them you're listening. That's kind of the most important part of all this. You don't have to, as a pizzeria, you don't have to have a blog about types of cheese and sauces to do well. You just need to be active in your community, and that's talking to your customers. So I don't know. It's my idea.
Absolutely. No, I agree. Well, look, let me just sort of carry on, and I'm gonna link in now to Mark's sort of recent books. We're saying Denver, thanks for your comments. I hate autofollow. Also a classic from Denver, and this is to you, Andrew, which is don't forget to connect to your mum. All right, don't forget. So, Mark, let's just talk about your two books which we've got coming out, because I think they are very much important to, funny enough, a lot of people on here. And before I do that, I just want to mention this because I was very annoyed earlier on. And Dennis Brown, you've picked up on this. And he says, "Hey, James Izzy, how come you don't have a fancy G+ cushion?" I knew someone would notice it, right? If you notice in the background, look, Andrew, I love your cushion. And what we got? David, it's always there. It's a staple. Mark, you and I are left out, man. This is terrible. Okay, let me
take it out of context. Andrew, I love your cushion. That could go viral.
Oh, let's not make that viral.
Better be careful with that one.
Hashtag cushion. That'd be terrible. Okay, look, what we got? Nazim, I hope desperately you've sacked off the other HOA. I do hope that, all right? But look, let's just say, Denver has mentioned this point, Mark, about your stuff. So following advice from you last year on HOA about Twitter and reaching out to the media reporters, it's worked. Here, Denver, I totally and utterly agree with you on that, because it's a strategy that I employ, and that's how I use Twitter an awful lot. Funny enough, it's how I reached out to Mark to come on this show. So it does work. What else have we got in here? We've got Jim has mentioned this. We adopted his book for the MBA Marketing Strategies class. So thanks, Jim, for your comment, which is great. And I can't tell you, Mark, there's a few others which I haven't been able to pin because there's so many of them. So guys, if you've got any questions, please do. Again, just use that little box above you with the arrow in your head, and just pass any comments into the event stream, and I'll bring them in and do all that sort of stuff. And we started the hashtag, love your cushion. Thanks, Kristen. Great. Damn. Oh, hang on. Get the cushion on Etsy, guys. Right. Thanks, Nikki. Next time we'll get all that. Okay, fine. So let's just kick in. So, Mark, what have you done? You've got these two new sort of books coming out. You've got the re-release of The Tower of Twitter, which is fantastic. Why did you choose to re-release it out of interest? What was the process behind that?
This is something that's been so amazing and wonderful, but I actually wrote that book. The first edition was 2011, and I self-published it because I wanted to write a little human-oriented book about Twitter, and the big publishers wanted a 240-page book, and I said, no, I'm not going to write a 240-page book about Twitter. So I self-published this book. It became the best-selling book on Twitter, self-published. Then it was picked up by McGraw-Hill in 2012. And the strange thing is, of all the things I've done in my career, I think when I look back someday, I think this is what I'm going to be known for, is that I wrote this book. People just love this book. And every day I get the nicest tweets and comments from people saying, this has opened up my eyes, it's changed my world, it's changed my business. We even heard in some of the comments today I use some of the tools in this book, and it really works. And so it's very wonderful. It's very gratifying. And I think Twitter has changed a lot in the last 2 years. It's become more of a broadcast channel. I had to do a lot of reflection on and introspection to think about, is that human pulse still there? Is that what's really driving Twitter today? So I created a new edition of the book. It's probably has about 75% new or updated.
Oh, I'll tell you what, you've gone there for a second, and I'll tell you what, I'm going to sneak in for a little bit.
25%, yeah.
Sorry, you just disappeared off there for a second, and while you're talking, I'm just going to bring up the screen share of your cover. So carry on, Mark. Sorry.
Okay. So I think the new edition of the book still has the same human qualities. It still has all the stories that people love and connect with, but I've added more muscle to it to reflect the commercial innovations, the advertising innovations that Twitter has included. So I think it's a much more relevant book to the way Twitter stands today.
Couldn't agree more. And do you know, I started in Twitter back in 2000, I suppose 2007, and I'm annoyed because I couldn't find it. But I remember someone wrote an article which I then paid a lot of attention to probably a couple of years ago, and they said that there's almost 7 phases of your Twitter life, which is you send your first post, right, and you're like, oh Christ, right, you spend hours thinking about what you're going to post, and then it's something really inane and boring.
Or you just steal a joke from someone else. Right.
Yeah, I was probably on the inane and boring bit, but yeah, that's what you do, and then you start to go, actually, this is quite cool, and you sort of find some people, and then you just go mental for a period of time, and you're absorbed into this world of Twitter, and it's like, freaking hell, what's going on? This is amazing. And then you just get Twitter burnout for a period, and you start questioning your entire being on Twitter, and then slowly but surely over time, you eke out what it's useful for, and I think it's fascinating. And something in the book which really resonated with me. There's a particular section, and I mean, I urge any of you to have a look at it. In the Showcase app, there's a link to the .com and .co.uk Kindle versions, and there's a period in there which I've never been able to sort of pinpoint a name on it, and I'll let you explain it, Mark, because you'll do it far, far better than I will. And that is what's called authentic helpfulness, because I think that chops through a lot of this rubbish that we're all talking about. So could you expand on that for us?
Well, I think it's really at the heart of not just Twitter, but all social media, that I saw this statistic, James, that the millennials are the least trusting generation. They don't trust brands, they don't trust companies, and they can sniff out a fake in 140 characters. Believe me, it's uncanny. And so people go onto social media to be entertained, to have fun. They're wasting time, basically. It's incremental time. No one, well, maybe a few people, but not many people get paid to be on Facebook or Twitter. But they don't want to see a picture of you giving a check to the United Way to fix the sewer system or whatever. But they will run to you if you can help them save money, make money, save time, have a more entertaining life, have a healthier life. And so I think behind every success, every case story in social media, there is this element of helpfulness. And not just helpfulness, but authentic helpfulness, because as I said, people can sniff it out if you're trying to fake your way through. And I think it's the authentic voice, the authentic brands that are going to win and that are winning on the web.
Absolutely. I've always sort of believed in it and almost used the term in a lot of the speaking that I do, which is you've got to give to receive. If you're not giving, you will never get people back to you. They'll never listen to you. They'll never take your advice. You've got to give them something of value for them to say, actually, do you know what, Christ, that's that's really helpful, right? Let's
one of the things, I was talking about on my podcast this week that I do with Tom Webster. I was kind of making a joke about all the profound things that you see on Facebook, like if you could be one of the 7 dwarves, which one could you be? or what color lollipop are you today?
Fill in the blanks.
I just want to read through and say, just stop this. It's so.
I hope we lost him
stupid.
for a second.
In real we don't sit around the pub saying, hey Andrew, what color lollipop are you today? Let's stop that shit. Stop it.
Yeah.
That's not how real people talk. Let's connect to people in an authentic way, not fake helpfulness, not fake conversation, but business is built on relationships, on real relationships. And we have this historically important opportunity to reconnect with people in a human way, and we're screwing it up because we're trying all these little tricks, and we treat people differently online than we do in real life, and it's silly and it's stupid, and we need to stop it.
The other thing, Mark, is it's not targeted in any way. I mean, when you just do engagement for the sake of engagement, those circle shares, that +1 comment and share to get in the next circle, things like that. You're just getting that lowest common denominator of the network, and that's all you're ever going to get. Especially on Facebook too. If you're a business and you're there sharing about what color lollipop people are, or fill in the blanks, and you're like, it's a picture of New York. I'm not an idiot. Like, thank you. They're not going to bring in the people that are going to be their customers. They're going to be their evangelists, that are going to be the ones that actually read their real content when they do finally put it out. It's this whole fake it till you make it thing does not work. You have to be, like you said, Mark, have to be real. I have to be authentic.
Absolutely. Well, Nikki, I think sums it up very, very well. Gain so many clients through Twitter, but I tend to ignore the shouty me sorts of people and engage with more business-oriented profiles. So fair dues. Absolutely agree with that, Nikki. Couldn't agree more. Let's just have a little look at this. Mr. J comes in. You get thousands of followers on Twitter, yet not much people really engage with you. Absolutely, and that's it. And do you know what? It's funny. That's one of the things I've really tried to consciously concentrate on myself recently, is just get back into the engagement. And there's another cool little takeaway which I often use, which is followers are vanity, engagement is sanity. And the point is, if you've got no engagement, what's the point in having a whole load of followers? It's an absolute waste of time. So cool. Let's have a look.
Something I wanted to mention. We need more engagement, less content. No, not necessarily less content, but we have enough content. Let's try to get back in there and engage, show value, not just by publishing a new blog post on the same thing that everyone else has written about 100 times over. Instead, go to that other blog post and add your thoughts. Show that you're thinking about these things, that you can improve on what someone else wrote. You can say, hey, you got this and this wrong, like, let's talk about it. And that will give you it's more value in the long run. I mean, it's not just the shouty, look at my blog, please. But anyway, sorry.
Well, no. But before I move on to your next book, Mark, this is like the collection of authors on this panel, right? Because I haven't even mentioned David's yet. I'm sorry, David. There's just so much kicking around. It's mad. But I want to bring in the best quote that I've had for a long time about your first tweet, and this is from Pan. Your first tweet is like a first kiss, confusing and ultimately very forgetful. So amen to that. That's me, totally. Although I was in tent in Guildford, I remember. It's not good. Okay, cool. Let's move on. So, Social Media Explained is your other book that I have recently had the pleasure in reading. Let me just share this screen share on here for you, Mark. So tell us about this. This is, if I'm correct, it's almost like a collection of some of the stuff that you lecture about in your role as a lecturer. Is that fair to say? Can you just give us a little bit of an overview of that?
Yeah, this book also has a very interesting history, because I get called in a lot to work with big companies, let's say, and all the people working in marketing say, well, we got to get our executives to be excited about social media. They need to understand social media. So, Mark, we're bringing you in, and you have 1 hour. And so I was getting this a lot. And I would go, and whether I work with big companies or small companies, I was finding that a lot of the questions are the same. What's the ROI of this? How do I measure this? How do I get started? How do I handle negative?
I love this. The moment you get excited, Mark, we lose.
Afraid of
it. There you go. You're back again. Honestly, you build up
to my seat.
It's like, whoa, and then you go.
the electricity. The electricity. It's disturbing the Google juice. So, but I am excited because what I wanted to do was I came up basically with a dialogue with these executives to get them calmed down about social media, because I explain it in a very unusual way. I explain it in a way based on psychological and sociological principles that they're familiar with, that they can connect with. And then they say, oh, I get it now. I feel a little bit better about this. So I started testing this in some of my speeches and some of my college lectures, and people loved it. So then I decided to put it into a book. And it was the best-selling social media book of 2014. And the thing that's been surprising to me is that even experienced marketers are loving this book, and they're commenting, and so that's been really great to see.
Actually, one of the good takeaways that I got from this, and I hope you don't mind expanding on this, was sort of, I mean, it's broken up, and one of the key bits for me is you see 5 key questions that you will get asked by your clients, and I thought that was a really valuable section for me, because you know what, it's absolutely bloody right. But one bit in there was when you're looking at building a social strategy for a company, and a company says, I want a social strategy, you say there's one question you ask, which is, and it's only we ... And you basically ask them to fill in the blanks. Can you expand on that? Because I thought that was a really interesting bit, which I thought needed a little bit more thought than most things.
Well, it's the hardest question in business, but you have to be able to finish that sentence, only we, because it forces you to figure out what are your points of differentiation. Why do people love you? Why do your competitors fear you? Why do people keep buying from you? Who are your customers? Where are they? Where are they getting their information? And if you can figure that out, your marketing strategy unveils itself. It reveals itself. It's so liberating, but you have to be able to answer that question. And whenever I go in and work with a new...
It's gone again.
Did you lose me again?
Yeah.
Perfect timing.
It's always the most important thing. Sitting here like I'm learning.
Yeah.
Or can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you.
But when I'm working with a client, I'll have them around the table, and if I sense that they don't really have good focus on what they do and why they do it, I'll hand them a piece of paper, and I'll say, all right, finish this sentence, only we. And if there's 10 people around the table, sometimes I'll get 10 different answers. That's a sign that you're not ready for social media. You're not ready for marketing, period. We got to solve this problem. We've got to have a unified message. We have to have a unified view of what we do as a business before we can ever communicate it. So that's a very cool part of the book. I walk through, here are the 6 questions you need to answer before you have a social media strategy. And if you answer those 6 questions, you got it. You'll have it figured out.
Let's hope they can. But, I mean, how often, I'm sure all of you guys are the same. How often do we walk into a business and the joined up thinking is not there, which just makes life, it makes life hard. There's almost an argument for them getting together before they bring anybody in, otherwise it's a waste of time. Okay, well, look, Mark, thank you for that. I mean, some wonderful takeaways from all of that, and again, all of Mark's books, I've actually grouped them together, so there's the Amazon.com, the Amazon.com collection of all of Mark's books on there, and equally with David, and David's books. And David, I've got to move on to you, because I never realized this. I know that David is a big martial arts fan, obviously. And I'm just going to try and bring this up because I'd forgotten to take a screenshot of this earlier on. But for those of you guys who are not familiar, let's just see if this is still on here. Come on, tell me it's here. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? There you go. I'm going to bring it up. So, David is an amazing martial artist. I would never like to meet him on a dark night. Right? And this is, for you guys, wherever you are, this is David's Amazon page in the UK, right? And you've got all these wonderful books in here. you know, SEO help, online marketing, Google Hangouts for Business, which is pivotal, SEO help, this is what we're going to be talking about now, and you get down here to judo and taekwondo. Fantastic. How many do you sell of them? Look, that's like the most expensive book out there, David. Look at that, £31. That's what, $50 a book.
It is. Yeah, it is pretty expensive.
I hope there's some good margins in that. But come on, tell me, why? Because yours again is a re-release, right? This SEO book. It's a re-release.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's an update from a book that did extremely well in 2010 on helping people who didn't know anything about SEO actually get their websites visible on Google at the time. And things have changed remarkably in a fantastically short frame of time. So basically, the challenge now was, you know, we live in a semantic search world. Semantic web is really complicated. Is there a formula, perhaps, or which somebody who doesn't know anything about SEO, doesn't know anything about how it connects with branding and marketing, could actually apply and get there? So that was the challenge, really. So I tackled it from that perspective, and funnily enough, there is, because essentially in a semantic world, there is a fragmentation of the identity which can be brought together in a holistic way, provided you focus on the fragments. So with that approach, I created 20 steps, and if you follow them, you will actually get where you need to. Interestingly enough, and picking up on both what Mark said and Andrew, branding, marketing, search marketing, SEO, and the reason why you're in business, your differentiation, your identity, they're all converging these days. You know, you can no longer separate them. You can no longer say, this is my branding team, and this is my PR and marketing, and this is my search guy. You know, the moment you have any kind of situation like this, you have a dysfunctional business. So really, and Mark must see it a lot, I see it more frequently than I like, that essentially the moment you go into a business that has that kind of setup, you know that they're in trouble and they don't even know it. They think they've ticked all the boxes, they've got all the guys in place, that toolbox is full, why isn't it working? And that's when you start telling them what to throw out and what to bring together.
That's so right. I mean, the fragmentation of having too many people in too many different departments, and also certain people get very, very picky about what they're doing and how they're organising things, and you get disagreements and all that. So I totally agree. But just sort of, I suppose, overall, I mean, the book, for me, I mean, if any of you have read David's Semantic Search book, which is a fascinating read, very complex in nature, but it absolutely lays out the very nature of this world of semantic search. This book, it's split into sort of 20 steps to really help you get to understand it all. In a very, in my mind, I like to think that I haven't got the IQ of an astronaut. I'm pretty, sort of level playing field. I got this totally when reading it through. So, I mean, David, congratulations for one, to make me understand a book, for one.
Thank you.
It's no mean undertaking, trust me. But equally, because obviously we haven't got 7 hours to talk about this. If you could take 3 tips from those 20 that people can action today and give them an idea of what the book's about, what would you say are your top 3 of those 20 for people about action?
That's funny enough, that's easy, and it's also difficult. But 2 of them are technical and 1 isn't. So let's begin with the technical ones. You need a fast website, you need a stable hosting environment. If you have those 2, massive win. And the 3rd one is be you, in the full sense of the word. And the moment you start thinking, well, how can I, this is Mark's we gap kind of sentence. If you can't say who you really are, and it's not what you do, it's not what your business does, because other businesses do the same thing. Who is really you in terms of why is your business unique? What made you come into work today? What keeps you going day after day? If you can't answer that, then none of that comes through into your marketing, in which case you're marketing like all your competitors are, in which case you're not marketing to your customers, you're marketing to a customer who's yours today and somebody else's tomorrow. And that makes a huge difference on your bottom line, because you're constantly chasing people instead of having people who are your people who constantly give you money. And that really is a transition. So if you manage to answer that question, you're on to a winning streak.
I like that. Stop chasing people, let them chase you.
Well, in a way, but I mean, you've got to give them a reason for them to chase you. So, you know, if all of us come on this and we say we're Andrew Harasewych, right? All three of us, then who's gonna know who is the real one without really knowing you? But the moment they know you, they know that's you, and that's it. They know why they follow you, they know why they listen to you. Same with Mark. You know, we can all come up and say we're Mark Schaefer, but there's only one of them, right? One of him.
I hope.
We think. And there might be robots stashed somewhere.
Although I'm probably
No, honestly, some of you guys, you drive me crazy because you get so much done. You're writing books, you're out there, you're working for clients, you're doing lectures, and I'm sitting here like, I can't find time in the day to finish my own presents. I mean, I definitely like a little brown nosing here, but you know, it's true. I mean, some of the guys, like we mentioned Martin Shervington before, Mike Alton, you know, these guys who just put out. I mean, they're doing a lot. I mean, I don't know what kind of teams they have over there, but clearly have something going on. But sorry, sidetrack.
No, it's true, but I just think that there's only one Mark Schaefer, but there's probably a Schaefer with a double F or an E and an A the wrong way round, or a double H or something like that, Mark, I'm sure, because the amount of times I've reached that.
That's why I call my website Businesses Grow, because nobody can spell Schaefer.
That's true, that's true. Well, I tell you what, I think this is quite a philosophical point to sort of almost end on, which is Kristen's point, which is, I am who you are, which I quite like that. I quite like that. That sort of suggests a little bit more than that as well. But no, definitely, for those of you out there who've read David's books, and I know certainly in the Google Plus space there's a lot of us, this is a definite. David, it came out today or yesterday on Amazon?
It's this week. You know, I got the email last Friday. It's coming out this week, and I think the release date is Wednesday, Thursday. So you know, any day now it's going to start appearing across all the bookshops, all the electronic bookshops, and it's already in bookshops, I think so.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations again for both of you to get these books out. I'm going to sort of wrap it up a little bit here because there's two things really which I've pulled out from this show, and I don't think this matters whether or not it's on Twitter, on Google Plus, in the world of SEO, on Facebook. I think there's two things I've taken from this, which is number one, authenticity. Everything about the world of semantics is authenticity. Unless you are you, people aren't necessarily going to buy from you, listen to you, read from you, whatever it might be. It's all about being authentic and being you. And I think that also translates to the second bit, which is this explosion in video. I read a statistic yesterday that one of the reasons that Facebook is really pushing this world of video is that they've realized that I think they passed 1 billion video views on their platform last year. And so they realized there's a massive emphasis and a switch to easy playing videos, maybe short and sharp and snappy, but the point is video is a growing platform. Maybe this is why Twitter has started investigating the world of video. Maybe this is why Google Hangouts are really moving so very quickly into this space. And it leads me to sort of just a couple of key points and key announcements to this, which is not only have we got Mark with his two great books, we've got the announcement of David Amerland and his great new book, which is just out this week. I just wanted to mention the midweek marketing mix. We just finished having talks with Social Media Today just this week, and as of the next show, which is coming on in a couple of weeks' time, this will be the first Google Hangout to stream live through Social Media Today. So it just shows that, yeah, I'm pleased, and that's good. But it just shows as a platform, video is being used more and more and more, and also as a platform of Google Plus and Hangouts, you can use a different sort of content. It doesn't have to be written. Andrew, I hear what you're saying there about, oh my God, the books and the writing and all this. Do you know, I'm terrible at writing, and I prefer the video as a spectrum. So start looking at video as an option, whether it be recorded video or live video like this as part of your content strategy in the marketing world. So that was my
one quick tip, James, on that. Something that people can do to start practicing, and something I have to start doing because I thought of this. I don't know if I read it somewhere or what, but you know, when you finish writing a blog post, sit there and read it in front of a camera. Try to riff on it a little bit, and then just put the video out with your thing. Instant YouTube video strategy. You know, you already have your transcript. That's your blog post. It kind of, you know, you can kind of work it into there. So it could be interesting. A nice way to practice, at least. You know, before
the best of it up. I don't know if it's the same as you guys in the US, but in the UK they always take the Mickey out of the news recorders, because at the end of their bulletin they always get their paper and they sap it and then put it down.
That's so true.
It's right there, right? So we could finish a video discussion, and then we can go, and that's... Thank you very much. But look, we're nearly ended, so I just wanted to say, Scott, just to finish off with you, I'll save this to the end. For the record, I followed Mark Schaefer's advice, and a few years ago was pivotal in my positioning strategy on social media in Google+. So there's another sort of heads up for you in there. Mel, thank you so much. Cool HOA, really kind of you. Monica's giving you a big head tap on there for you. Andrew, be active in your social network. Oh, look at that. My comment tracker's gone right at the last minute. It works nearly all the way through this week. Nearly got there. But look, for those of you who want pillows, like David and Andrew there's a little link in there for the G+ pillow on Etsy that Andrew's put in the event page. So thanks so much for that.
And that's actually the little one. I think David has a larger one, though, but I don't know where he got his. That's a big one. Mine's teeny.
Tell me we haven't got a hierarchy of cushion. That's when it really goes wrong.
Yep.
My cushion is bigger than yours, kind of thing.
And I think on that note, it's probably worthwhile finishing. We can't get any better than that. But look, do join me in a couple of weeks' time. We've got some great guests coming on, and it'll be the first one streamed live through social media today. So hopefully we've got some special guests coming in as well, which will be good. So just on behalf of myself and all of my guests, thank you for joining us and all the great comments. I could not keep up today, and that's why the Showcase app was quite slow. I'm going to upload all of the links we talked about in the Showcase app now, so you can get party to those in about 5 minutes or so. Guys, thanks, Andrew. Really appreciate it. David and Mark, appreciate your time, including with... I hope your man flu gets better. Cheers, guys. See you next week.